Okay, we're here with Kevin Martinez, Vice President of Corporate Citizenship. I've been starting these interviews pretty much the same way, asking, tell the class how you ended up at ESPN.
All right.
Give me a little bit of the short version of the
long version?
of the long version,
Okay.
right?
Well, the long version basically is predicated by corporate social responsibility. So I'm kind of one of the first practitioners in the space, and it goes all the way back to basically the 1990s. And working with retail, I worked for Eddie Bauer, Starbucks, moved to Home Depot, ran the Home Depot Foundation, tried to make my millions in finance, and then got there just as Lehman Brothers was going under for KPMG, and then was called by a recruiter for the Walt Disney Company for ESPN.
And so how would you describe your job? What do you do here?
So my job is twofold. One is my job is to protect the reputation of our company by developing strategic programs that have unique resources to be able to invest in the community and our employees. The second piece is to be part of an integrated strategy for the full company as it relates to its particular business strategy. Each business has its own strategy as it relates to the full company, its 5-year goals and strategies, to make sure I work with them, to partner with them, to collaborate, to be able to achieve those.
And so you're doing that, so you're coming up with programs that, especially the outreach type programs that put ESPN in the community. And I know that goes back to former ESPN president George Bodenheimer was very big on ESPN being involved in the community. Why was that such a mandate? Part of his mandate. What's important about that?
Yeah. So George and his team hired me, and it was at the time we did the V Foundation for Cancer Research. I think everybody has kind of understood that's something that organically came up through ESPN. We created the foundation, spun it off, and it's because we were very close to Jimmy Valvano, and we had some history there. But after a short period of time, I find that most companies around 30, 35 years old kind of go into their teens, right? So I've been with companies that have been new companies, Home Depot and Starbucks, that have then moved into that time. Same thing was happening with ESPN in the respect that it was formalizing its place in the sports community. And one of the things we noticed was we had these great relationships with the leagues, which were doing empowering elements. There were social issues that were coming down the pipeline that were affecting our business, were affecting our employees and the way we could recruit, that were also affecting content. So could we speak with authority about race relations? So one of the things that we decided to do was to establish something called corporate citizenship. And the way I like to juxtapose that is each company has corporate social responsibility, and that's like the constitution of the country, which is these are the laws that you must follow, and you must follow them this way. It's the license to operate that you have. So, in energy extraction, you must do things in the environment. You must follow certain guidelines with the EPA. In FCC and, our SEC or FCC, depending on what financial or media group you're in, you must follow those guidelines. With that, you're also given the right to vote. You're given the ability to be a citizen. So the next step of that is to move that beyond. So yes, you're doing stuff in the environment and labor practices and things that you should be doing right and well. But then what do you do with that vote? So as a corporate citizen, so what is ESPN and the Walt Disney Company doing that they don't necessarily have to do, but basically reinvests in the community, which they're actually bringing resources from?
So what's an example? Give us how do you guys reinvest at the small level and then maybe at the big level, because I know it works both ways. Right.
So for a long time, we were Bristol based, and you're here, there's not a lot out here, right? Mm-hmm. But we were in a very depressed community, and it was important that when we brought people here instead of New York or other places, that we made this community a viable, strong, healthy community. So we invested in and around this community for a number of decades, actually, from Boys and Girls Clubs to different value propositions there in the local market. But now we are more of a global company, so we're going all the way to Brazil and India and Argentina to talk about investments. The way that we do it is, again, looking at where the company is, understanding their growth plans in international, how we may be able to precipitate conversations, also to, as I call, all boats should rise on this. And so when we go into a market like Brazil, we actually have the Olympic rights in Brazil. So we're a provider of the Olympic telecast in Brazil, should we be doing something for the local community in Sao Paulo and Rio? The answer is yes, because we have rights, so we should be making that community better. But in addition, I can invest in that community. So we just built 2 sports courts, big, huge facilities, one in Rio and one in Buenos Aires, where we're actually programming it for a year. We're doing youth development and training and employment, as well as sports, in a favela that is very close to an area that is being, probably affected somewhat, probably negatively by the Olympics. So we're investing back in there to show that we're committed to that community.
That's really interesting. So this idea of, and I think from television, people are familiar with your work, obviously, you said, with the V Foundation, which does great things, and I've been a contributor through the years, and also the Special Olympics.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about how that Special Olympics, how that manifests itself in ESPN's involvement in that.
Well, I'm glad you picked that one out, because here's the thing, is that what we do is a business practice. So I am the first person to stare someone in the eye and say, when they say, isn't that nice? Isn't that a good thing to do? Because yes, it's a good thing to do. But if that's where you start, then you've lost the perspective of why we do what we do. Is that our dollars are corporate giving dollars. They're not foundation dollars. They are strategically set by our investors that we get a pool of money to be able to invest in communities. So they must be strategic to the business, reputation, market entry, battleground competitiveness, but at the same time, they must demonstrate that they're lifting everybody else, or they're targeting a social issue that we should be part of. So it could be, poverty, race, it could be, access to sports, it could be anything that it's in that space. So I think one of the most important things for us is that when we were looking at building this strategy out with George Bodenheimer, he was very clear with us. He said, listen, we've got such an amazing product and relationship with the V Foundation, we cannot lose currency on that. Meaning we can't lose our fundraising efforts. We can't in any way put that in the back seat. So he challenged us to do that. So what we did is we selected another organization and said, so if we can prove to you that we can keep the V whole, if not continue to grow it, and bring on other assets, we can show you how we will do it. This is what we do. So we brought on Special Olympics. But we did something unique with Special Olympics, which is we just didn't go fund Special Olympics. We went and knocked on Tim Shriver's door and we said, listen, we really want to make substantial change. We also think this is a great content opportunity. So let's be absolutely clear. So as we introduce ourselves to you, we want to make sure that you can tell us what your 5-year plan is. You can tell us how you're going to invest in that 5-year plan, and tell us what the outcome should be in 5 years. And so they did a beautiful job of saying, we want to increase unified sports by 1 million people. I'm like, what's unified sports? It's the next iteration of sports for Special Olympics. So we dug very deep into that. And we said, okay, we're going to fund 500,000 of those. We're going to pay for half of that. But here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it in markets that are important to us. We're going to do it in markets that are important to you, but you're going to have to prove to us that you can do the analytics, that the impact is made. And then what we're going to also ask you to do is to figure out how to build content. So yes, there's some great stuff that happens just kind of organically on social media, but wouldn't that be great on SportsCenter? Right? So then what we did after that conversation, we started to bring content back to the business, and before you know it, we were in discussions about doing the World Games. And then we just signed a contract just about a month ago to do the next milestones, which is Austria, Seattle, National Games, and now wherever the World Games go in 2019. So it became a business platform.
But, and we talk about this part of this class that looks at the branding of ESPN. Mm-hmm. Aside from these are great initiatives and the right thing to do, why are these initiatives, what kind of aspect or what kind of function do they serve from a branding point of view, as far as showing that ESPN is more than just a place to get scores and highlights and watch games?
Right. Well, I think, we're seeing right now more so than ever. I mean, in the early 2000s, you saw ubiquity being the issue. There were so many brands that were out there that were just pervasive. And so there was a lot of CSR issues with that, with Starbucks, McDonald's, a lot of retailers, or brands that were just so big, like the energy consumption or development brands that were so big that people didn't trust or believe in them. So it was actually the reputations were being hurt. One of the big pushes is that how do you make corporate responsibility and citizenship part of the brand delivery system? So that's why we work very closely with marketing, communications, and other groups to make sure that we're still on message, right? But we also have a responsibility in the sports sector. sports sector is a unique beast, as you know, that, it's not celebrity, but it is celebrity. It's not just journalism, but it is journalism, right? And then there are, our mission is to serve the sports fan anytime, anywhere, right? We can't be all things to all people, but in that mission, service, we believe this is the highest form of citizenship. So we said we innately are in that space, so we must be able to serve the sports fan. One of the clear deliverables for us was, as we started to renegotiate contracts with affiliates, with the leagues, that they all had these programs. So why weren't we working together to maximize these, to accomplish certain things with football and the issues that they had around safety? So we collectively said, okay, we're going to do USA Football Heads Up program, and we're going to do things in Monday Night Football preceding that. It became content. It became good for the community. It also was good for our brand. So to your point, the values of the brand were articulated to us a way that we could go in and say, okay, we're going to strive for reputation management. We're going to strive for just the branding of ESPN and how it's related to other collaborative issues. And then there's the other pieces, which is our employees, which is, as you know, the great spokespeople for your brand, is to make sure that we could collectively bring them something they would be proud of, and then other people would be proud that we were doing that. So we've done the V Foundation. I think everybody kind of knows that.
Right.
We want more people to know it because we want to find a way to cure cancer. But we've done the My Wish series.
Right.
We've actually been working with Special Olympics for 30 plus years. And now we have these other programs with the Women's Sports Foundation. We created a new program in that because we wanted ESPNW to rise as we started to build that. So there's more there as well.
So if I can just backtrack, can you, reputation management, can you kind of define, give a little more explanation what you mean by that term?
Sure. So each brand is, has certain value propositions attached to it. And those can be tarnished very quickly as it relates to public affairs. So I call it the fence line community. So yes, we're here in Bristol and we have an operation here. Outside of that is the fence line community, which lives very close to us. And they are people of Bristol, Connecticut, et cetera. Beyond that is the scope of people who take our signal and watch our signal and work, whether it's telephony or other affiliates, they still see ESPN. They may not see Comcast all the time, but they see ESPN. We have a responsibility there. The brand reputation is to make sure that it's kind of like insurance. So if you do good things in the community, if you go with the dictum of do no harm, only make things better, all of this criteria, all of the information and research out there from Cohn, Roper, from Edelman shows you that people that work with trusted brands will allow for them to make mistakes when they do make mistakes, and they won't immediately go negative on them, right? Every company makes mistakes. So it's important to us to be able to say, we're going to go out there and we're going to fortify that space. That's reputation management. It's strategic by nature. It's not going to wait and say proactively, oh, something happened, we're going to respond to it like a crisis. But we may go out and say, we're going to invest in things that are important, race being a very big issue for us right now, that we've proactively worked with the ESPYs, we've proactively worked with Undefeated to be able to say, we're going to be in that space because 60% of pro athletes are actually people of color.
So how can you give me an example how, you talked about the race and working in that space. How is there an example that kind of stands out for you?
Well, first of all, I think, from a business format, launching Undefeated, I think in and of itself is a reputation and responsibility tool, but also a content tool, first and foremost. I mean, we're building content there. But how we do that, you must do it right, you must do it with authority, the people who are building that must represent the people who they're talking to, right? If we had gone and selected the wrong people, we would have been criticized heavily. That's why it took so long to launch, is to make sure we had the right people and content. We are now working with them to talk about race in a way that allows for the dialogue to happen, at a President Obama town hall meeting, working with the NBA and some of the stuff that they're doing that allows for them to be able to say our commentators and our journalists and people, inside that are doing programming and content development, here's how we position that. Another thing is the LGBT community, right? So we're seeing now this kind of exponential effect, the LGBT community, and particularly the T and LGBT community. And I think we've handled that very well, right? But we've invested in and around that with GLAAD Media, we've invested with GLSEN, we've invested in organizations that helped us get there to do it right.
You've been here now a few years now. What event or what project or what endeavor kind of stands out for you that you think about probably my highlights of highlights? What stands out for you?
Well, I think, we are still building our portfolio. So the good news is we still got room to grow. But where we are right now, I'm very proud. There are very few jobs. When I worked at Home Depot, I could say we actually saved people's lives because disaster was one of our elements. And Katrina, we went in and we helped develop resources there. We're helping to save people's lives by raising money for cancer. So I'm very proud of that personally. From the perspective of my team and everything else we've worked at, I'm proud that we've been able to develop a strategy that the company has bought into holistically and something we call Inspire. And it's Inspire with an E. And the goal there is to kind of build a reputation module that says that we can inspire the conversation around how the power of sports can be used for social change. And so we just launched, not just launched, but we had our second annual Sports Humanitarian of the Year Awards. And this allowed for us to be able not only to invest in programs, but then also go out to the other side of it and say, who's out there doing the most amazing, impactful things? We had an independent judge and jury group that said, prove us that it's impact, prove us that it's sustainable, prove us that the dollars worked well, and it wasn't brand building for athletes or coaches or, et cetera. That humanitarian award has now allowed us to be a thought leader in the space. So now we're filling in the gap in the middle to say, where else should we be to talk about, on OTL, how athletes give in their space, what's going to happen. The what at the ESPYs was we had amazing athletes open our show saying, we want to do something about gun violence. The so what is what are we going to do next?
And you talk, as we conclude here, you've been at so many different companies. How does the culture, and big companies, how does the culture of ESPN compare to those other places that you've been to?
Yeah, I made one big mistake in my career of going to the places for money and for what I thought was going to be, carry me through on my job versus a company that I absolutely adored because I loved their product and the culture that allowed for me to be authentically my whole self at work. ESPN is that because it's not just because it's part of the Walt Disney Company, but that certainly is a piece of it, is that everyone here at ESPN, I believe, honestly believes that they are part of the cultural sum of where ESPN is and going, including what's on air and everything else. So we all have kind of an ability to add to that. So the culture piece for me is that, it's like the personality of a company, right? It's personifying the company in a very big way. But as we all know, there is no company without the people in it. So to get everyone to march towards very specific areas, we have just developed some cultural elements that we're focusing on as a company in HR. I sit on the diversity committee. But the piece is that, if we're going to maintain our success and leadership, we must diversify. We must look like the people that are receiving our signals and networks out there. We also know that diversity is innovation. If people think differently, they're going to look at the different way we provide SportsCenter or provide citizenship. So there's a unique opportunity. That happens in a great cultural company, and that's what we have.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for doing this.
Hey,
really
I appreciate it.
it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.